LSU dominates the season opener 14-0. I've got 5 big takeaways. You'll hear them next. Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making this your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts. Of course, on YouTube as well, so please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. LSU wins the season opener against Purdue Fort Wayne 14-0 in what was a total annihilation of, quite honestly, a bad baseball team. But there were some takeaways I want to get to, and I would love you to please leave your comments. If you want post-game reacts, one thing I'm considering doing here is after each LSU baseball game, maybe doing a live post-game reaction. If you want that content, let me know. Drop your comments. Would love to hear from you. So LSU beats Purdue Fort Wayne 14-0. The Mastodons were completely overmatched, and it was evident from the very jump. Cade Anderson took the ball for the Tigers. He struck out 4 of the first 6 batters he faced. He struck out 8 in all. Cade Anderson gave LSU 5 innings of no-hit baseball, struck out 8, walked just 1. That was in his final inning in the 5th after a mound visit from pitching coach Nate Yeske. But Cade Anderson would get out of it, allowing just the 4 hits. He was masterful. LSU's offense was awesome in this ball game. 14 runs on 14 hits, and that was without the benefit of a home run. So the Tigers strung together hits. They were advantageous when they were given free passes from the Purdue Fort Wayne pitching staff. So all in all, this was a really successful game for LSU. Purdue Fort Wayne walked 8 hitters, and they did hit 1 batter. So it was a day where you were, again, against a very overmatched team, and it showed in the final score. So I got 5 takeaways for you, and I want to run through those. It would be very easy for me to tell you Cade Anderson. I just went through a stat line, but Cade Anderson, if you're an everydayer, thank you, you've heard me say this, Cade Anderson dominated non-conference opponents a year ago. He struck out 13 in a midweek game against Southeastern. It's not surprising that Cade Anderson went out there and handcuffed a team that was sub 500 a year ago. It was encouraging, but we'll know about Cade Anderson once the schedule flips to conference play. I'd rather highlight Kason Evans. Who? Kason Evans. Kason Evans is a freshman righty out of Texas, and he was the first reliever out of the bullpen. Now, he came into the ball game in the 6th inning, and LSU had this thing well in hand in the 6th. They put up a 5 spot in the 1st, 2 in the 2nd, another run in the 4th, a run in the 5th, and then 2 in the 6th. I mean, LSU, when Kason Evans entered the game, was up 9-0. So he was letting it flow pretty freely. But he went 2 innings, faced the minimum, struck out 4. Went 2 innings, faced 6 hitters, struck out 4 of them. Kason Evans was dotting 98 and throwing a breaking ball for a strike. I'm here to tell you, I don't care if it's Purdue Fort Wayne or the New York Yankees. If you can throw 98 and get your breaking ball over for a strike, and you can command those pitches, you can get good hitters out. That will play. I'm not sitting here telling you Kason Evans is going to be an All-American. I'm not telling you he's going to be a key part of this team. We have seen guys in the past look great against the Purdue Fort Waynes of the world, and when it comes time to going out there against SEC hitters, they can't get him out. So long way to go for a young guy, but the stuff is undeniable. And I wanted to highlight Kason Evans first because we spent a lot of offseason talking about all these additions. We talked about Cade Anderson coming back. We talked about Gavin Guidry in that closer role. We talked about bringing in all these different players, all these different guys from Anthony Ianson and Zach Cohen and up and down the list. Connor Ware, you've heard us say all these names. You have not heard us say one word about Kason Evans, but he went out there and was overwhelming. That is a guy worth keeping an eye on. He works quickly. The ball explodes out of his hand. And again, throw in 98. You can locate 98 and throw your breaking ball over for a strike. You got action and you can play. Kason Evans was impressive. Offensively, how about Danny Dickinson? Danny Dickinson, the Utah Valley transfer, came in as one of, if not the top position player transfer in the entire portal class. And this is a guy that everyone's anticipating to hit right, around where Bear Jones is to provide some protection in the lineup. And boy, did he. He hit fifth. I'm sorry, he hit fifth, excuse me. So they went Stanfield, Curiel, Jones, Pearson, Dickinson. So Dickinson hit fifth. And in his debut, Danny Dickinson went 3 for 4 with 5 RBI. A 2 RBI single in his first at-bat, a 2 RBI double off the middle of the wall in left center in his second at-bat. That dude very clearly showed why he's got the accolades. Now I get it. It's against Purdue Fort Wayne. But the tools are undeniable. It's a big thing that we talk about in baseball. You're looking for skill set, and it is very obviously there. You can see why the scouts love Danny Dickinson. He hit fifth. It'll be really interesting to see if he moves up in the lineup or what Jay Johnson elects to do. Chris Stanfield led off for the Tigers, followed by the freshman Derek Curiel. Then it was Jones, Josh Pearson, and then Dickinson, as we mentioned, followed by Jake Brown, and then Luis Hernandez, Stephen Milam, and Michael Braswell. That was the other notable thing. Milam and Braswell, who at the end of last year, probably your two best players, Milam and Braswell hit 8th and 9th. If you can bury Stephen Milam and Michael Braswell in the bottom third of your lineup, and you have two studs, like potential All-America type candidates, hitting 8 and 9 in your lineup, you're cooking with grease. Now, it's probably a situation where Jay wanted to go see what Stanfield looked like at the top and wanted to get Curiel involved early because he knows what he has in the other guys. Fine. But it is worth looking at. If you can bury those guys at the bottom of the lineup and maintain productivity, awesome. That's 2 takeaways. Evans, Dickinson. How about Jacob Myers? Jacob Myers is a guy that I think every LSU fan has heard us talk about up until this point, because Jacob Myers, who's from Sanama, pitched at Nichols, a year ago was one of the top strikeout pitchers in all of college baseball in 2024. 106 strikeouts, a 165 opposing batting average. He was third in the NCAA in hits per 9 innings. He was awesome. The problem is Myers also was among the top in the country in walks a year ago. He just couldn't command his stuff. He gave away too many free passes. Well, Myers went out there, pitched the 8th. He faced 3 hitters. He got a fly out and 2 strikeouts. He faced the minimum. He threw the ball over the plate. He got strikeouts. Fantastic to see, because that could be your setup guy for Gavin Guidry. Now, for whatever it's worth, they did hand the ball to Cooper Williams in the 9th, and he struck out the side. That's another freshman who got the ball. So they didn't have to go to a lot of their well-known names in this ball game, and they were up 14-0, and I get how it went the way that it went. But you got to see some other guys make key impact moments in this ball game. So Jacob Myers in that situation was really good too. And then, of course, Cooper Williams closing it out. 2 more big takeaways. Catcher. Not going to be all sunshine and roses. If there was one thing that you could come away going, defensively, look, Alex Milazzo was a defensive stalwart for you, and he's gone. And Milazzo and Hayden Travinsky sort of tag teamed the catcher role a year ago. Brady Neal is no longer here, but it was Luis Hernandez who got the start. Kate Aaron Beatty replaced him mid-game, and Blaze Priester also caught near the end of the game. And I'll tell you, Luis Hernandez wasn't stellar defensively in the early going of this game. Tigers had 1 error. That was a catcher's interference on Hernandez. He allowed a stolen base. And you could say, look, it was an off-speed pitch where the runner stole, but The throw from Hernandez was not accurate. It was a great pick by Milam at second to prevent it from going into center field. Wouldn't have had the runner either way. And also stabbed at a ball that popped out of his mitt in the first inning. Just not a great debut. He wasn't great at receiving the ball. He clearly wasn't great at throwing down to second. And he also committed a catcher's interference. So you got three guys there with different skill sets. Cade Arambidi, the freshman, highest ceiling. Blaze Priester, probably the best power in the bat. Hernandez, veteran guy, maybe all-around player. But you got work to do to figure out who's going to be your backstop. And then, one more, just an obligatory Bear Jones mention. Jones did end up getting a hit. He had a walk and a hit in the ball game, but his first two ABs, he popped out. I think Bear Jones was just pressing a little bit. So, when you're Bear Jones and you're popping out, it's because you're trying to elevate the baseball, and he's trying to hit homers, and it was cold and windy. And Bear Jones can hit homers on cold, windy days, but he just needs to settle down and let the game come to him. He walked, and he did have an RBI base hit as well. So Bear Jones got on the board. The only starter that did not get a hit was the aforementioned Luis Hernandez, the catcher. So something worth watching as they go into day two, as to how that may all shape up for LSU and how the lineup may change. So we will talk about that as we continue. Let me knock out a quick break, come back, give you a scene setter for game 2 of LSU and Purdue Fort Wayne. What to watch? How about the LSU Gymnastics team? A massive win over number 1 Oklahoma. We'll get to that as we continue. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. If you're backing your team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, you never feel like you miss your chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. So LSU wins game 1 14-0, and the Tigers now head into game 2 against the Mastodons. Again, this is a game that was moved up on Saturday to 11 a.m. It was scheduled for Saturday afternoon. Threat of rain in Baton Rouge on Saturday moved this game up to make sure that they get it in. So 11 a.m. If you're wondering what to look for, I've got a few things. First of all, Purdue Fort Wayne is going to start a lefty, Zane Danielson, who's a transfer from Lincoln Land Community College. So in game 1, you saw the righty, Dylan Fitcher, a graduate transfer. Now you get to face the junior lefty, Zane Danielson. Maybe this is an opportunity for Jay Johnson to load up the lineup with some more righties instead of lefties, and we'll see. In particular, what do you do in right field? For example, Jake Brown got the start. Do you run Jake Brown out there again? We did see Ashton Larson in relief. By the way, 20 of the 21 available position players played in game 1. The only that didn't was Eddie Yaman, the Dayton transfer. But maybe this is an opportunity to make a change in right field in game 2. And we'll see behind the dish as well, which I'm going to be fascinated. It was Luis Hernandez game 1. Maybe Cade Arambidi gets the start here in game 2. We'll see. That was the order they went. They went Hernandez, Arambidi, Priester in game 1. Maybe that's how they'll rotate them as well. A starter, maybe they each get a chance to start a game here over the weekend. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll get to our first look at Anthony Ianson as well. Anthony Ianson, the righty from UC San Diego, who a year ago had a 3.07 ERA, 82 innings pitched, had 85 strikeouts in 82 innings pitched, so more than a strikeout per innings pitched. Threw for Team USA over the summer, and as a guy that was one of, if not the top right-handed portal arm in the country, So just watching Anthony Ianson is going to be massive because you're trying to piece together this rotation and what it may look like. And, if you can go Kate Anderson on Friday, Ianson on Saturday, and it holds, then you come back on Sunday with Chase Shores, who's 6'8" and throws 100. I mean, he might very well be, and you hesitate to say this because of what he was, but Paul Skeens. I mean, he was Skeens as a younger guy. I mean, 6'8", throwing 100 miles an hour. I mean, he has that ability, but what's it going to be like taking nearly 2 years off of baseball when he comes back and has to go throw competitive innings? So something worth keeping an eye on. And let's see if the ball flies a little bit. Tigers haven't hit a home run, 14 hits. None of them left the yard. Maybe the Tigers get a little power surge on Saturday morning out at the box. Again, an 11 a.m. first pitch for LSU and Purdue Fort Wayne on Saturday for Game 2 of the series. Hey, before we get out of here, let me give a big hat tip to the LSU gymnastics team. It was number 1 Oklahoma, number 2 LSU Friday night at the Maravich Center, and the LSU Tigers get the win. And what a clutch performance it was for the Tigers to get that win. They were leading after the first rotation. They drew even. It was the score was tied after 2 rotations. Tigers opened on vault, then went to uneven bars. They were tied after 2 rotations. It looked like in the 3rd rotation, which for LSU was beam, the Tigers were going to take a potential commanding lead with a floor still ahead. But unfortunately, your veterans, Aaliyah Finnegan and Haley Bryant, had a couple of bobbles that cost you the lead. And so Oklahoma went into the final rotation with the lead. Oklahoma on beam, LSU on floor, and LSU didn't have a score lower than 9-9 that counted on floor. So and Oklahoma had some bobbles on the beam. So LSU beats Oklahoma. You would anticipate that with that win, the Tigers we'll see what the scoring looks like, would overtake Oklahoma as the number 1 team in the country in next week's polls. But again, remember, the polls are based on your cumulative scoring average. So LSU 2, they should surpass Oklahoma. And we'll see if you have a new number 1 team in the country come Monday with LSU beating Oklahoma. Fantastic win over at the Maravich Center on Friday night for the LSU gymnastics squad, which beat Oklahoma with a 198.050 to 197.675. So an uncharacteristically off day for Oklahoma as they couldn't close, and LSU notches a 198 in front of a raucous home crowd. So congrats to Jay Clark and the Tigers, who continue to impress. You got some of the familiar names with Haley Bryant and Aaliyah Finnegan and Connor McClain, who was such a key part a year ago, Amari Drayton. Obviously, you've got some veterans like Sierra Ballard, but the freshmen continue to be so impressive. And it is encouraging because you realize that with Kalia Lincoln, with Kalen Chio, those freshmen, as explosive as they are right now, as freshmen, are only going to continue improving. Man, LSU is going to be really good for a long time. Jay Clark has that thing humming. So congrats to the LSU gymnastics team on their win over Oklahoma in a 1-2 matchup at the Maravich Center. Okay, that's going to do it for us here on today's bonus coverage of Locked On LSU. Hey, do me a favor. If you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.